consultant. He's been very familiar with web app development over the years and is now adding security kind of to his list of stuff. I've always found his insights and his observations very useful and very spot on in many cases. So without further ado, if the audio is ready, Bhushan Gupta.
Thank you, Richard. And thanks for the kind words. Now, these are some brave souls who stuck around here for the entire day, I believe. I'll try to make sure that you're not bored. I'll try to keep it funny. Okay? Now, it will be funny for you because I talk funny. I have an accent. So hopefully you won't fall asleep. Talking about fun, I'm going to start with a small clip. And after you view this clip, there will be a quiz. So pay attention to this, please. All right? Here we go.
You know, we've been hearing a lot about cybersecurity lately, largely because of what happened to Sony. Companies and individuals are more concerned about the safety and privacy of their information than ever. President Obama has unveiled a number of new proposals this week to crack down on hackers, and he plans to address this in the State of the Union speech on Tuesday. And it's great that the government is working on this, but the truth of the matter is we need to do a better job of protecting ourselves. You know, the most popular password in the United States is password 123. And as long as that's the case, we're vulnerable. So today we sent a camera out on a Hollywood Boulevard to help people by asking them to tell us their password. And this is how that went.
We're talking about cybersecurity today and how safe people's passwords are. What is one of your online passwords currently?
It is my dog's name and the year I graduated from high school.
Oh, what kind of dog do you have?
I have a Chihuahua Papillon.
And what's its name?
Jameson.
Jameson. And where'd you go to school?
I went to school back in Greensburg, Pennsylvania.
What school?
Hempfield Area Senior High School.
Oh, when did you graduate?
In 2009.
Oh, great.
It's like my cat's name and then just like a random number.
Okay. Have you had this cat for a while?
Yeah, she's my childhood pet.
Aw. And what's her name?
Her name is Jolie.
Jolie. Mm-hmm. So like a password of yours would be Jolie and then a number.
Yeah.
Like number 1?
Like my birthday.
Oh, when is your birthday?
June 12th.
Oh, nice. And what year were you born?
95.
Oh, great.
Mm-hmm.
So Jolie, 6, 12, 95.
Yes.
Got it.
So you mean to give my password right now? No, I cannot do that.
But we all want to know what it is so we can tell you if it's strong or not.
Oh my goodness. Let me think. Okay, one is Tel Aviv. Yeah. 4, 6, 8, and then Israel. It's only 3, but it's, you know, it's for me it's strong enough.
Ireland, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Gemma, 1, 2, 3. Spelled G-E-M-M-A.
Well, most of them are Italian.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, so like
what's a good Italian password?
my grandma's name.
What's your grandma's name?
Maria.
Maria. So Maria is your password?
Oh yeah, now you know my password. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, the important thing is they learned a terrible lesson.
All right. So here's the quiz part. What did Jim Kimmel say the most commonly used password is? Password 123, right? Okay. Now the other point I want to make is you saw an excellent example of social engineering. See how the person who are interviewing, how she asked the questions? She never asked, give me your password. She said, what's your password like? What's your grandma's name? What's your birthday? It was all social engineering. Now, a few things I want to point out here is only one of those people she was interviewing realized that he was giving the password. And only one of those people realized at the end that he has given the password. And a basic element of social engineering is trust. If there's an authority in front of you, it could be a news channel, it could be somebody else, it's very likely that you are going to trust this person. Okay. Now, talking about password in common, in Twitter breach on June 9th, 2016, there were 120,000 passwords, which were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Why is that? Why would I want to choose a password 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Because it's simple, right? And if it is simple, it's also simple to crack. It's just that simple. So you had a little preview of what social engineering is, and this talk is based upon how to avoid being a victim. Right? This is what we're going to talk about. And I also assume that some of you may have been a victim of social engineering. I know I have been. Okay? So let's go through material here. I also have a break. We'll see how we make the progress here. But when it's the breakdown, we'll break for a little bit. Okay? So my first experience with social engineering was when I was teaching up at OIT, Oregon Tech. And I was teaching a class on Unix platform. One of the things I did on a regular basis, on a routinely basis, is to add students to the class or to the group, assign a password, and that was just a common thing I would do every day. One morning, I was doing just that. And I finished what I wanted to do. I came back next day morning. I tried to log into the system. I couldn't. Tried to log in the system as admin. I couldn't. The system was just broken down. That's when I realized that there was somebody in the back shoulder surfing me. While I was typing the admin password, he copied it. I trusted the guy. I mean, you trust people. He copied it, and after that, after I left the room, he went ahead and mucked up the system. Now, that was a very difficult situation. We had students, we had classes, and I don't know what to do. I did the basic things like an admin will do. Time came, I said, let's call AT&T. It was an AT&T system. And then the person at the customer support said, just type poof. Would that do the trick? He said, just type poof. So system, I was on the system again. I typed poof, long behold, system came up. Okay. So that was my first experience of social engineering. Now, sometimes, at least those times, we played games. It was an intellectual game. Today, that is not the case. Today, you may have heard of ransomware. You may have heard people fault being encrypted is for financial gains. And it's bad when hackers really go after the old people for money. So let's go ahead and go to the next slide here. So, what is social engineering? Social engineering is an art of convincing something they're not supposed to do. It's human persuasion. Make somebody do something they're not supposed to do. Right? Little bit better example here. Tricking someone to avoid formal processes. Convincing them so that they don't follow the formal processes we are built around, which are built around the security. Okay, and there is one more definition here. It's psychological manipulation of people into doing things they're not supposed to do. Okay. That is the basic definition of social engineering. What it basically means is that if you can convince somebody to do something which may not be in your favor, but it's not something they're not supposed to do, that is social engineering. One of the examples I want to give you is a fairly expensive example. Ubiquiti is a network company. They have their office, the headquarters in San Jose, and they have offices all over, and their financial office happens to be in Bangkok. Some imposter sent an email to Hong Kong office, to the finance department, asking this person transferring a huge sum of money to a bank. Okay? And this imposter posed as the CEO of the company. Okay? So, because we trust, this person went ahead and moved the money. It was $46.7 million. The money was just gone. And the main reason it happened was the financial person trusted the email. Now, these emails would normally come from an imposter being a CEO, or it could also be a case where the CEO sends an email, forwards an email to their admin or secretary, and they don't pay attention and forward it to the person who is supposed to take an action on that. The worst thing here is that the person who took an action on that email didn't do a due diligence, because this person was trusting that email. Okay? So what I'm trying to say here is that trust is a big part of this activity. Okay? There are several words. We are very good in software industry. We're very good in coming up with TLAs, three-letter acronyms. So there are words like BEC, business email compromise, and that's what that is, and also CEO fraud. Now, the other point I have here is, in 2015, according to FBI, there was $215 million that were accounted for social engineering fraud. So it's not a small problem. And it's not a new problem either. I don't know how many of you have read these stories, but this comes from very old times. Greeks and Troyes were on war. Greeks were fighting for 10 years. They could not break into Troy. They exhausted all possible means of winning the war, and they came up with this social engineering attack. They built a horse with wooden sticks, left it outside. They pretended to sail away. There was no activity outside the door. So Troy people, they opened the door. They thought the horse was a victory trophy, brought it in, and enjoyed their victory, and went to sleep. Now, Greek people put some soldiers in their horse. That's why they call it Trojan horse. At night, the small army opened the gates, and the war was over. Greeks won. That's why we have a virus called Trojan virus. So these things are not really new. They have existed all along. Okay? I don't know if you've heard of Kevin Manning. Have you? Anybody? Oh, yes. Good, great. This is the guy, very smart, very intelligent. Okay? He did some hacking in old days, and he was on the hit list of FBI. And FBI was trying hard to catch him. Now, he was so smart that he broke into the telephone network, and he knew where exactly the FBI was. And he also knew when they were closed. So what he did, he took a box of donuts and put FBI for FBI, put it in the refrigerator, and fled away. Okay. He was finally caught, spent 5 years in the jail. This guy is an author, he's a consultant on security. Now, according to Kevin Mitnick, it's the biggest threat could be you in your company. You may have heard stories of where people left their laptop open, or they just forgot it somewhere, and they lost the data. So human being could be the worst vulnerability. Excuse me. Why is that? Why is that the case? Okay. I've been talking about trust. But let's look some more deeper into it. Now tell me, if you have been a Boy Scout or Girl Scout, raise your hand. We have a few here. More than a few. All right, so if you look at what we attain, what we become, is based upon how we are growing up, with what principles or values we have been brought up. Now if you go to look at some of the old values, Boy Scout, Girl Scout, first thing it points out is you have to be trustworthy. Okay? It goes both ways. If I'm trustworthy, I expect you to be trustworthy too, right? The second one is, which is really important, is helpful. Be helpful. Help your fellow man or woman. And that's the second lesson we learn. Be friendly, all right? Be courteous, be kind. Those are the values we grow up with. And on this side is the same thing. Friendly and helpful, honest and fair. And these are no bad values. These are good values to have a functional society. Okay? We need to grow up like that. When you go to the workplace, it's all, you have to be a team player. You have to be a team player. It's a win-win. You win, I win. You win, I win. It's all about teamwork. Okay? And that's again a great aspect of a society. But what happens is that you also have to use good judgment. You cannot always trust people all the time. And also, trust really varies between cultures, between people. I can trust people more easily than my wife can. I can trust anybody if I don't hear anything against them. But my wife starts with no trust. It's all personal. It all varies from person to person. It's also cultural too. Asian cultures are a little bit more trustworthy than Western cultures. So the point here is that, yes, we have to have these values, we have to grow with these values, otherwise the societies will break, but we also have to use good judgment. So how do people conduct their social engineering? What are their tools? What are the lures? What do they use to do social engineering? I have a short list. I'm going to go through all this stuff. All right. So you can divide these tools into physical methods of doing things, and electronic methods of doing things. Okay? On physical side, we have shoulder surfing, right? And I just gave you an example of shoulder surfing. Basically, somebody is trying to do some secret work, and you are, or someone else is right behind their shoulders watching what they are trying to do. Now, raise your hand if you move away or look to the other side when your coworker is typing the password. Oh, that's very good. It's very good. So that's shoulder surfing, where you are behind somebody and trying to know what somebody is doing. I give you an example of shoulder surfing where I suffered. That was a bad experience for me when somebody brought my system down. Okay. Next one is baiting. Baiting is, I'm giving you something. Okay? You don't need to pay me for that, but I'm giving you something. Now, a lot of times, people are giving you USBs. And it's a good thing. It's like, oh yeah, it cost me a few bucks, so why not take it? Now, I don't know if you say no to that or yes to that. But if you take it, The next thing you would do is put it in your system. That's the only use for it. And if this is infected, you just lost control of the system. Now, I happened to be in a conference last week. Somebody says, here's a USB. I said, I don't want it. I don't want to take it. And I said, thank you very much. I don't really need it. Okay? But there are examples of situations where there was a gathering of security professionals. Okay? And there was a company, these are security professionals. There was a company giving out USBs. They gave out 60 USBs, and I know the people who are very good on security, they didn't object to it. Okay? So baiting could be such a thing. It could be a USB drive, it could be a CD, something somebody giving you, and they're trying to give you something by which they can get control of your system. So that's the baiting part. Okay. Now, next one is quid pro quo. They're providing a service. There are times, there have been events where an imposter will act like a help desk person. They'll call you, I have your ticket, I want to help you out, and I'll fix your system. We're trying to load some new stuff on it, and I need to know your password. So next thing you would then do is, unless you do your due diligence, next thing you do, oh, here's my password. So you just give away the control of your system. Now, people are smart too. They just don't give away those things just like that. I have a neighbor, and he's not a high-tech generation. One time he was on his system, a chat box opened up, and the person texts, your system is slow, I'll fix your system. Okay? And then this guy goes, yeah, how much would you charge? Taps out, says $250 and I need your password. I don't think he cared about the password, but he cared about $250. So you have to have good judgment. Nowadays, you just have to have good judgment. I really pity for those people, those who get trapped into ransomware. They end up paying money to people who have hacked their system, encrypted their files, and they can't get to their stuff. It happens all the time, right? So those are three of those which are physical attack vectors. Tailgating. Tailgating is very interesting. Yeah. There is a company in Europe, in England. It's on FTSE, and they hired a consultant to do some work for them. And I'll tell you what the work was. This guy comes to the front door. He needs to go to the third floor. Somebody opened the door for him. He gets up. In 20 minutes, he finds the most secret information in 20 minutes. Okay? Guess who opened the door for him? The vice president of the company. Okay? This guy spent 3 days in that company, and nobody ever suspected who he was, what he was doing. Okay? Nobody ever suspected that. The point here is tailgating happens. People want to store your secrets. They want to know about your business. And it's just the reality. In this particular case, the fortunate thing was that this guy was hired as a security consultant, and he proved right away that your security is not good enough. Right? So, excuse me. Social media. Social media is really interesting. Everybody's on Facebook having fun, right? Everybody puts the information on Facebook. Some people, they even say that the whole family is going for a vacation in Hawaii. What does that mean? Nobody at home, right? Nobody at home. Next thing you see is a Bulgari in that place. It happens all over the world. I have heard stories from India. My friends tell me all the time, oh, my daughter went there on Facebook and she put that nobody's at home, and that's the next thing. So that again, you have to be diligent to know what you really want to expose yourself to. Now, the next one is again social media. This person, NATO Supreme Allied Commander, he had a Facebook page. He had all this information. Okay. The people who wanted to exploit that, they created a fake page with all that information, and the next thing they try to do is solicit friends through his profile. Now you are a very high post in the army. If people, your friend think that you are who Facebook says, they're going to be your friends and they're going to give you some information. So Facebook, it's a social media and it's there for a purpose, but you have to be very cognizant of what you want to achieve through that. The second story I have here, see, what did I say here? There's one more. I was just going to go to the next one here. So that's the social media. Now, I'm sure most of you have heard of phishing. Basically, what phishing is to get sensitive information from you or lure you to a point where you can go to a website and provide your sensitive information to somebody and they can exploit that information. Whether it's your social security number, your credit card number, and things like that. Okay? And it's done through electronic communication. Somebody's going to send you an email and hope that you click on that email, and two things will then happen. One or two things will happen. So phishing attacks are very common. I'm pretty sure most of you have received phishing attacks. I get it all the time. So is there someone here who hasn't really, or how many of you have received phishing attacks? Yeah, most everybody here. So they're very, very common. Now, here is the growth on phishing attacks. They have really increased. If you look at this here, this is this thing here from 5 million, let's say this is about 10 million to almost about 24 million here in this time period here. Now, most of the phishing attacks really increase from November through January because everybody wants to be shopping at that time. It's very easy to trap people at that particular time. So phishing is a real problem. Let's look at different types of phishing. One type of phishing is where you send a phishing email to everybody and you hope that somebody will click on your URL or somebody will be sent to your website or something like that. That's called generic phishing. Now, the other type of phishing is spear phishing, where you are trying to get somebody who has important information. So, for example, if I am a financial officer of a company, I'm a target. Or even if I'm a system admin somewhere, I'm a target of that. The third one is whaling, which is a relatively new term. And the whaling is when you are a CEO or CFO of a company and you really have control of how money flows, how decisions are made. That's called whaling. At that point, you're really trying to get somebody who has lots of information. Okay? Those are the different types of phishing. Right? I just talked about that. Individuals are targets of phishing. Corporations are, elderly people are target of phishing. Okay? The mechanics of phishing is like that. Imagine I'm a hacker. I'm not. Imagine I'm a hacker. I'll send you an email either with an image or a URL to send you to a website. Or I would ask you to do something via that email, maybe asking for some information from you. So when I'm asking for information, I'll be asking for some your personal information, which would be like social security number and credit card and things like that. If I send you to an email to a web link, and if you click on that, there are chances that I will put a malware on your system. I'll try to get to your system. So that would be my intent. In any case, I want you to perform an action. Until you perform an action, nothing really happens. Nothing bad really happens. Here's an example of an email. And I had a lucky day when I had quite a few emails there. The same day, June 29th was my lucky day. I had a bunch of emails here. This person is in a group with me, social group with me. I know her very well. And this person who sent an email targeted all these people. So this is a typical phishing. This is me here. And it is sending me to a website. Now, I saw this email. I thought, this is a friend. Maybe she has something she wants to talk to me. I clicked on that link. Now, I call myself security professional, but I clicked on that link. Right? Fortunately, the site was down. I got a 404 instead of my system being messed up. I was not very worried about it, but at the same time I was worried about it. So I watched my system for the next few days, and my symptoms or the symptoms I was looking for, is it getting slow? Is it getting slow day by day? Am I losing files? Or my registry are being deleted, registry entries are being deleted or not? So you always have to, if you have done this, you always have to at least look at things which may go wrong to get some kind of a feel for what has happened to your system. Okay? And it looks, the email looks just good. There's nothing wrong with this email. Okay? All right. So here is another one I got the same day. This came from Bank of America. Dear valued customer, everything else here about this message, sincerely Bank of America, no signature, no nothing, and here we go. All right? Because this is the second email on the same day, I didn't care about this one very much. I said, okay, let me put it away just the way it is. I really wasn't too sure what to do with it. And I know what to do with it, but I really wasn't going to hurry it up. Right? So these are normal phishing emails. The difference is, in the previous email, there were a bunch of people. It was a generic phishing email. Here, somebody is targeting just me. Right? I don't have the top part, but it was just me. It was sent just to me. So they were thinking like I have some very important information. So when people perform a whaling attack, it's mostly targeting either a CFO or a CEO. They are not the people who are trying to hack things. They're not dumb people. They really go through a thorough research, trying to design things perfectly so that they are successful at it. What would happen if there is a email and I'm convinced that this is a fake email or this is a phishing email, next time around I will just put it in a blacklist and I would never look at it again. Actually, I filter it out even before that. So these people who try to take advantage of phishing emails, they're pretty clever, especially when they're trying to do a whaling attack. Now, I'll give you an example of that. When you talk about phishing, some common things to look for would be grammar will be very poor, mostly poor. Okay? and you wouldn't see any salutation. There would not be any dear somebody, dear Mr. Gupta. It would be very generic in nature. Okay? And then the information they provide may not always be right. Okay? And we're going to go through a few of these later on. Right? So the other things that happen which lure this phishing attack are just common events, big news that take place. When Malaysian airline crashed or crashed, there were just phishing emails generated around that. We have like more information about Malaysian airline. Click on this link if you want to know more. It's so simple. The other one is death of Robin Williams. There was a worm on that. Attackers created a worm on that to take advantage of that. This is just a common event and people will be interested in it. There are attacks which people took advantage of different movies. There was a LinkedIn attacks are also pretty sophisticated. I go on LinkedIn. You go on LinkedIn, you get 4, 5, 6 people, profile, create a company. You don't have a real company, you create a fake company, and then you can go ahead and start taking advantage of that. Okay. So these are the different tricks people use to start a phishing attack. Okay. I don't know where we are time-wise. 5 more minutes? So let's take a break. Is that okay? Let's take a break, and then there's 5 minutes to break, right? Yeah. So let's take a break for 10 minutes, and then we'll continue the rest of the discussion here. We're kind of ready to take care of phishing here. So, according to Kevin Mitnick again, you have to train your people. If you're a corporation, you have phishing, there will be phishing. You have to train your people. We're going to go over some logistics and what do you need to do for that, and what should the training include. Right? So first of all, let's look at some common traits of people. Because after all, people are the one who become victim of it. And if we don't recognize what common traits of victims are, we probably wouldn't be able to understand who may be more likely to be hit by phishing. So the very first one here is openness to experience. Oh, I don't care. I'm ready for everything. Those people who really want to experience new things, they're not afraid. Those are the ones who would be highly susceptible to phishing because they just consider that as an experience. The next one is conscientiousness. They intend to be different. They intend to distinguish themselves from others. They want to follow the process. They feel they're responsible for things. So if I'm asking you to do something, if I'm a hacker, if I'm an imposter and I'm trying to do something, they would take it to the point that, yeah, I should do that because I'm being asked to do it. Extroverts, they are the people who really like to talk to other people. They get into conversations. They go to different lengths while they have conversations. People like in sales, marketing, those are the people who would be more inclined to have that extrovert personality. And agreeableness, these people try to agree with things. If I'm asking something, if I ask them something, they would agree with me. They will try to do things with me. And they're also likely to be a victim of it. This last one here, neuroticism, they are very private people. They don't want to mingle with anything. Okay? So these are the people, this is the type of people who would be safe. They would not really they would less like to be victim of phishing. Right? So here is the approach you should take. First of all, you want to know how good your organization is, how much do they know about phishing, where they are, do we really have a phishing problem or not. So you first need to do an assessment. Once you have done an assessment, then you would know what to fix, where to fix, and who you need to take care of, who you need to train. You don't have to train, you may not have to train everybody in general, you may be training some particular groups. Okay? And if things work, then chances are, once the training is done, then you test again, and then you're on your path, on your way to make things better for your company. So you have to assess your vulnerability in all areas. We are going to talk about phishing because that's more prevalent at this point. There is more of phishing that goes on around us. Okay? So we're going to to start with, we're going to just talk about phishing. Okay? You have to have support in your organization. To be able to do any assessment, anything which is going to take you in a new direction, you have to have support from high level, management support. That's very important. It's an experiment. You are going to do an experiment, and you want to make sure that it's done right. One of the important things would be that you don't tell people that you're running an experiment. And then you will be collecting some data, and then you want to review the outcome and what should happen after you review the outcome. Should we really invest in prevention, or we are okay without any problems? When you try to build support, obviously you need support from upper management, people who are going to sponsor this activity. But it is also important that you have support at lower management. I have known a situation, a case where everything was ready. They were going to do an experiment with phishing. They wanted to know how phishing is in the company. And then the middle management said, it's unethical. We don't want to trick our people. Now, if that is the case, then the phishing won't really, you can't even do it. So they just stopped the whole thing. They stopped the whole initiative. They couldn't even complete the initial experiment. So you need to really have proper support at different levels. Next thing is the sample size. If you have 20 to 30% people involved, that's a pretty good sample size. Beyond that, you want to really take some special roles into consideration. So one of them would be people who are doing system administration because they have information about the password files and how they're restored and all that, access directories, those kind of things. They would be another category you need to look at. C levels, I gave you the reasons. People who have financial information, people who make decisions, you want to involve those as well in your experiment. Yeah. Those who are extroverts, sales and marketing, these people need to also be part of that experimentation. Human resources also needs to be involved because they have information about people. They hold personal information for different people. And then there are people who hold company information which is private to you, like designers, architects. They have information about new products, especially if you're an innovative company. I remember when I worked for HP, when we go out for lunch, we will take out our badges and put them in the back pocket so that people don't suspect, or if we have a conversation going on, nobody will eavesdrop because they will not know where we are from. So you need to have a fair representation of your company into this experiment. Okay. Now, what is important is phishing email, how do you craft it? Where you have to make it legit, as legit as it can be. It should come from a reliable, or not from reliable, so the imposter should be legit, it should look legit. And there should be some incentive to be able to attract people to click on a link or provide the information. And some of the things which can go in that category would be give somebody some reward. You will get $100 coupon if you click on this link or you follow this process. There are situations where people entice for weight loss. This basic thing, everybody wants to lose weight, so enticement through that. Just make people interested in acting upon that email. Data collection. So you should have data collection at different points. After 4 hours, how much data has come in? After 32 hours, how much data has come in? After 70 hours, how much data has come in? So you need to really have a pattern to establish how long it takes to the organization to act on that phishing email. Okay? You will have to have some tools. You'll have to have some resources, people who are going to work on that. If you are somebody from outside, you also have to pay for those people. Okay? There are nice tools available out there as well, and somebody who will do data analysis. So this all needs to be planned. This is big logistics here. They all needs to be planned. I guess the most secretive thing is not to tell when you are going to send out the phishing email. There is some data. The data says that almost 40% of the response of the phishing actions happen in first 24 hours. Okay? And about 60% will happen within 48 hours, and about 70% happen in about 72 hours. So you have to collect the data at least for three days. Okay? You always want to know what percent of the people have clicked on their link, the victim rate, percent victim rate. Okay? There is also something about people clicking on their link multiple times. You also need to know that. It sounds like, oh, why do we need to do that? But it's a way to understand people's behaviors. Maybe people clicking on multiple times. You also need to know, are there any groups? Create an affinity diagram. What group has reacted to the phishing email most in some kind of order? This is, let's say, for example, sales and marketing group has really reacted well to the phishing email. So you got to have an affinity. Which group is more apt to click on the phishing email? So this information, once you've collected that, then you can decide what you want to do with it. So now, know if it's a problem or not. If your phishing rate is less than 20%, chances are you don't have to worry about it. That's fairly low. According to what we are seeing, 20% or less is not a problem. It's not that big a problem. But if you want it to be lower than that, then you have to do something about it. You also need to look how many groups are particularly affected, so that you can focus your training on that particular group. Data analysis is an important part, especially to determine which group is more likely to be impacted. That really makes a difference. Okay. Now, every organization should have some kind of a security policy. and phishing should be included in that. That would decide whether you care to do something about it, about the phishing problem in your organization, or you can bear the cost of consequences. It's always return on investment. If your return on investment is not much, you probably wouldn't care. We'll just say, okay, well, let it go. Just let it happen. And then, after you've assessed the situation and you decided to do a training, then you have to get that training going. There are some elements that training should cover. Okay. How are you going to take care of this problem here? What this training should cover is about 5-6 elements of it. People should know how to validate the source. Right? Look at the source, how to validate it. I'll give an example of that. They should also be able to identify that it's a phishing email. You don't want people to just delete email if it's not a phishing email. You want them to act on that email like a corporate email. So one of the things which you will see, and I'll have an example of that, is grammatical errors. There will be a lot of those. There would be no professionalism in that email. You will see that. And always try to find out where the email originated from. What's the source of email? And then they will give you some disclaimers and some basic information. So let's go through one of those here. I got this on the same day, June 29. What is interesting here is, it says, Bank of America says, online banking.support1@verizon.net. So it hit my mind right away. If it's Bank of America, why would they send an email to me from Verizon.net? Bank of America email should come from bankofamerica.com or something like that. It shouldn't be Verizon. So yeah.
It's just that kind of information isn't always, like, depending on your email client, they usually try to make it all streamlined. Maybe they don't even show the email.
True. But that's what training should be. The training should be to find out more about, if you suspect something fishy, find out more about it. That's what training should include. It's all about how do you educate people in what areas. So yeah, it wouldn't be easy to find that information, but that's what they need to be trained about. Okay. Now the other thing here is it's the salutation is very generic. Dear valued customer. Okay. If somebody is sending me an email, they want me to do something seriously, they need to have a proper salutation. That's what we are used to anymore. It's all things are customized. Now here's a bunch of information. You can always find out what's going on. We talked about salutation here. Look at grammatical errors. You will see lots of them. It says, unfortunately, there has been a problem processing your statement information for this month. You will see punctuation marks would not be there in the right places. You will not see comma or full stop and things like that. Okay. So that's one of the things you will see. You will just keep on going. Let's see, Ike. Yeah. Okay, so there the mail came from Verizon.net. Here it says bankofamerica.com. Please visit our secure server web by clicking on this URL. Look at P. P is lowercase.
It's not HTTPS. It's secure.
That's another thing. Yeah, it's not a secure protocol either. So and then another thing I noticed right after that, they giving me this address here. It's kind of bogus address. It didn't match the actual address of the office of Bank of America. Right? But if we train people to look for these things, they will, if they suspect something. That's the whole idea. That's the whole idea of training. train people to understand what a phishing email will look like. Okay, so let's go to another one. See, this is the official address of Bank of America, which doesn't match that.
The URL link to, because that's what it displayed as, but what was the actual underlying?
Yes, there is nothing else out there. There is no page it should go to.
I can highlight the URL, I can see what the actual.
Right, yeah. Yeah, so those are the points you need to train the people with. All right, so there is another one. I was telling you I got a few that same day. He was sent to my wife. That's my wife here. And then there's in subject line they have my name here. So I would pretty much know that this is not a valid email in proper way. And look at the from here. This is totally, I wouldn't be very happy about this from. The other thing I noticed here, look at Oregon 97007. There's no Oregon zip code 97007. They don't have the place we live at, our city we live at. So another one. Yeah. So you will see lots of inconsistent or non-professionalism in that email. That tells you that this is not the right email. And that's what the training people need to get, how to identify, what should they do to identify this as a phishing email. All right? So there are some other things people need to know. They need to know that when you get an email, don't delete it. Because if you deleted the email, you will lose any capability of doing any forensics on it. You wouldn't be able to find out where it came from. You wouldn't be able to you wouldn't have any information on it, because once it's gone, it's gone. Okay? Unless in this situation it was gone because I couldn't read it anymore. This is not a company server. This is Comcast.net. Okay? So they need to be aware of that. They don't delete it right away. Some things they need to do. If you don't delete, you can build the thread data, where the thread is coming from, where do we get the emails from. You can build thread data, and then you can use that data for future training. You can really protect this. So somebody gets into this mode of, hey, this is a phishing email, I'm going to delete it. That's not the thing to do. Also, when somebody gets a phishing email, they need to report that right away. In the training, there should be a procedure, not just the training, there should be a procedure that should be well laid out, that if you get a phishing email, do this. Who to inform, who to contact, and that's what this slide is all about. If I get a phishing email, I should know who to contact. Okay. I should know how to safely deal with this email so that it doesn't really hurt the company. And if the link has been followed, if somebody clicked on the link, and then IT security group should know that. And like I said, in my case, people should know how to do basic monitoring of the system. Some of the things would be, are all registries okay? Is the system slowing down? Did I lose any files? Those are the basic things people need to know and do. Okay. Now, when you have gone through the training, in post-training, you should observe for some things. Okay. First of all, you should observe, are the phishing emails being reported or not? Because that shows that people understood, they can identify the phishing emails, and we have a better understanding of it. Now, after a period of time, run another experiment to see how effective was the training. Run an experiment on a group of people. Again, if you were trying to educate a particular group about the problem. Obviously, when you have new employees, you have to run that training again for new employees so they also understand what they need to do if they got a phishing email. And then any supplemental training they need to get, you should do that all the time. It's all like I said in the beginning, it's phishing or social engineering all about human persuasion. More you prepare your employees to deal with, better you will be off. Okay. Now that's just about phishing. You can and you should do the same thing about other things as well. I know tailgating is not very popular anymore. It used to be. It is. It is.
We had notices of Intel last year.
Is that right? Yeah. So there you go. I know in 1995, we used to work at Freightways, and they had very they had it very well announced that don't let anybody tailgate. So I thought it's gone away, but really it's not. Dumpster diving is very easy. Anybody who is in security, they can just go. At the end of the day, they can just go through people's trash cans, and see if somebody is throwing out important piece of information. Baiting. Now, if you want to really achieve a total secure situation in terms of social engineering, they all need to be dealt with. People need to be trained with every single situation here. We talked about phishing because that's very common nowadays. There are some tools out there you can use. Wombat is an industry tools. What these tools do, all these tools will generate a phishing email for you. Okay. They'll send it out to a group of people you have identified. Now, they have the capability of gathering the data as well. So this is a Wombat is I know some companies they are using Wombat. There's cost to it. It's not free like the next one. Kali Linux is free. You can use this tool for no cost. But I don't know how many shops out there use Unix platform. But you can use that at no cost. Phishing Box is also popular. They give you overall solution, starting from sending an email to getting the data. So you have a good picture of it. And they help. The tools always help. That's what they're designed for. I put this list together. It's all, social engineering is all about human. Okay? And there are human hardware bugs. First of all, the very first is we have very high level of trust. And if we don't, the corporations will not function. We need to have that trust, but we also have to have good judgment. Just having high level of trust will put us on a wrong track. I'll give you the example of that, believing in simplicity. If, like I said, if the password is 1234, if it's simple to remember, it's also simple to crack. There won't be much problem in cracking that simple code. This one here is very important. Losing passion of something important. As a person, you're supposed to do some things. One of the things, and this is a bigger example here, one of the bigger security problem is configuration management. Okay. A lot of companies, well, I shouldn't say a lot of companies, but there are people who are responsible to patch the system. Okay. And they may delay it just because they don't take it seriously enough. I worked at a company, their security patches were about 2 months behind. Yeah. So these are just human hardware bugs here. I just talked about the patches. Documentation. What do I do if I have phishing email? Who do I contact? Where should I go? Who will take care of it? Just that documentation helps everybody a lot in terms of minimizing the problem. Okay. All right. There are some best practices. Develop a plan for security, enterprise-wise plan. You have to have a plan for security. You cannot be reactive. You have to be proactive for this. security, for any security you want, whether it's physical security, your application security. You have to be proactive for it. There should be a right team to do things. One of the things which you need to do is understand what threat you are facing. What's your threat? You have to do a threat analysis and know what threats you are facing at any point so that you can be prepared for it. Training and awareness, especially social engineering training awareness, very important. I don't know, maybe you can raise your hand if your company has training awareness for phishing. You guys do? So this all respond to incidents. If something happens, who's going to take care of it? So I guess I want to really say that cybersecurity is very important. And we are seeing it. No days go by when there is no breach. It's happening more and more and more, and there is no slowing down to it. One of the problems here is that it's not just national, it's international. Anybody can go on the web and harm you. So it has to be taken seriously. Now, quality has to include security. It's not an afterthought. You have to include security and quality. Budget is important. You have to be able to spend money to make sure you're secure. And you need more than one protection. There's physical protection, application protection. You need protection at every point. If you want to know more, there is a link here. There's a white paper from SANS. It talks about a lot of things, and it should be on the proceedings you got. Now, this cartoon here says instead of letting somebody know my personal ID, I would rather put it on eBay and make some money off it. And I found this interesting. It doesn't happen, but it's interesting. All right. Questions? I know it's late afternoon. Well, if there are no questions, then we do. Yeah.
Do you see companies being proactive and doing training, or are they just setting up forward to the IT department to read the phishing?
So IT department is part of the company. Okay, IT department needs to take the initiative. Okay. Just to reform your question, do I see managers being proactive in providing that training? I think they should be. And before you provide the training, run a short experiment, so you know whether it's a problem or not. To me, it's if you don't know the size of the problem, then you don't even want to spend a lot of money on it. So first of all, see if there's a problem or not, and you can do that by just asking people, hey, if you see a phishing email, let us know. So you'll have some idea of how big a problem is. And once you know how big a problem is, then you should definitely take an action. Train people. Yeah. Brian.
Yeah, thank you. You had mentioned not deleting the email. I think there was some mention of building a database, but I didn't hear you mention how to build that database. I know that at my work, our IT department has done phishing campaigns where they publish results. It says so many of you clicked on it.
Yeah.
But what about collecting it, and how about mail filtering? How does that relate to email filtering?
Well, so I think that the important thing here is if you really want to find out the reality, you should run an experiment. Random things can happen, and they would not help you in building a database or finding out how big the problem is. When you run an experiment, then you know you will exactly know how the behavior is out there. Building a database is like having a blacklist or whitelist. And that only what, I guess what is more important here is knowing how big the problem is. Let people identify an authority, security group or whoever that they have received a phishing email. I think it starts from that. I didn't hear that.
And filtering, how does email filtering play into this?
You mean filtering the phishing emails or filtering?
Right. So
Yeah.
I know a lot of companies invest in filtering that tends to eliminate junk mail, spam, and presumably phishing email.
Yeah, so it probably would be the same process as junk mail emails. You filter junk mail emails on some basis. You have to have another set of rules to filter phishing emails. Okay. Whether do you really want to I think yes, that it should be taken care of once you know where they come, where the source is. It would be a lot safer to filter them out than not to.
Oh yeah, I was wondering if companies that do email filtering, like say Google for Gmail, do they publish those lists online? Like you could just use their filter list?
I have never seen one of those. Yeah, they would not, because
Yes,
it would not be the same people phishing you as they will fish Google.
I do try to answer a little bit.
Go, sure.
There is the National Center for Cyber such and so forth. The National Center for Cyber Terror Attacks and so forth. They do some coordination there, and you got companies like McAfee and all the others that collect this, and so when a threat emerges, a new phishing attack, they try and actually put that into the pool so the filters can say, oh, this is a new one, here's another one coming through. But I don't know the scale of that. I'd have to go online and research it. Were there other questions or comments? I mean, we had a good thing going on garage door openers earlier, but
Thank you very much.
thank you, Bhushan.